In the movie, The Ten Commandments by Cecil B. DeMille, the parting of the Red Sea was in its time the most difficult special effect ever created. It required 6 months of filming, only a small part of which took place on the banks of the Red Sea itself. They created a huge 360,000-gallon water tank with a U-shaped trough in the middle. When the water was released, it flowed in from each side and disappeared into the middle. The film was run backwards, and once it was added with other blue screen images, the effect was truly spectacular. It is still considered to be one of the greatest special effects in cinematic history, and it rightly won them an Oscar. As they like to say, however, the original book was better. This part of the story of Moses is found in Exodus 14. God directed Moses to lead the children of Israel to a particular place on the banks of the Red Sea so that Pharaoh would think that they were now vulnerable. "I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them," God told Moses. "But I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and all his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord." This then is a statement of God's intent. The children of Israel would never be safe while Pharaoh's might and army remained intact. Therefore, God was luring them out. The decision to oppose the will of God, however, was all theirs, and it had disastrous consequences for them. Egypt had not only the strength of numbers, but of ancient technology as well. The chariot was a fierce weapon of war in its time. It scattered and overran their foes and moved trained swordsmen and archers through the battlefield at rapid speed to decimate their enemies. When the Israelites saw over 600 chariots headed their way, they were rightly terrified and ready to surrender and to become slaves once again. "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die?" So they asked Moses. "It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Moses replied with one of the best lines anywhere in the Bible. "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today." So he told them, "The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." They did not understand yet that they were no longer alone. They calculated the odds of their survival based upon their own weakness and decided that they were going to lose. But this was not their battle to win. It was God's. And God intended to achieve a victory that would never be forgotten by God's people. I think that even Moses himself must have had some doubts at that moment, though. He knew that his God was mighty, but he did not know what was about to happen. God laid it out for him only now on a need-to-know basis, I suppose. "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on," God said. And Moses must have been wondering where on earth they were supposed to move on to. They were effectively trapped in the very place to which God had directed them. "Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water, so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground," so God told him. This was the staff Moses had carried with him all along, a physical reminder of God's presence with him as he spoke in God's name. It was not a weapon or a magic staff that could do miracles. It was simply a symbol of God's presence. God did the miracles. Again, God told Moses his intention in all of this. "I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen." An angel of God was also there with them and had been leading the way for them all along. Now the angel moved to come between the Israelites and Pharaoh's army. And that remarkable cloud, also a sign of God's presence with them, moved as well. It had gone before them every day like a pillar of smoke, and at night it became a pillar of fire to light their way. Now it suddenly became both at the same time. Coming between the armies of Egypt and Israel throughout the night, the cloud brought darkness to the one side and light to the other. So neither went near the other all night long, so we are told. The light from the pillar of fire lit up the sky as Moses raised his staff and stretched his hand out over the sea. A mighty wind drove back the water and dried the land beneath their feet. With a wall of water on their right and on their left, they journeyed across. Pharaoh's army advanced right behind them, but they were in darkness, so they could not see where they were going. As the dawn was breaking, we're told, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. The dry ground first became mud again and jammed the wheels of their chariots so that they had difficulty driving. It was only then that they realized their true predicament. The early morning light revealed that they were now stuck in between two impossible walls of water. Their gods had failed them. The God of Israel had lured them into a trap. Panic rose now in the hearts of battle-hardened soldiers. They realized that this was a battle they could not win. "Let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt," they cried out. But there was no time for retreat. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. That day, the Lord saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians, so we read. And when the Israelites saw the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. You will look in vain for any record of this in Egypt. But then, why would they build a monument to their defeat? Nevertheless, it is clear they were chastened and weakened and no longer a threat to the children of Israel. Safe now on the other side, the children of Israel sang songs and kept on singing songs for generations, and they remembered this, the Lord's victory. "I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will praise him, my Father's God, and I will exalt him." And what lessons might we learn from all this? First, don't oppose what God intends. You will end up drowned in your sorrows. God will fight for those who are in the right, and God will always be on the side of those who have put their trust in him. But if you are trying to do evil, it doesn't matter how powerful you are or whether you have the strategic advantage. If God is not with you, then you have already lost the battle. Second, our role in carrying out God's plan is really this. The Lord will do the fighting, we will do the marching. All too often, we want to be the instrument of our own salvation, to win the victory by our own hand, when what the Lord is trying to tell us is that we should let God do the fighting, because this is God's battle to win. Hear again these words and take them to heart. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. And finally, understand that this really is a cosmic struggle between light and darkness. The light of the world is here now in Jesus to show us the way forward, even while all of our enemies, spiritual and otherwise, flounder in the darkness. We will survive and make it to the other side because God intends it and because God has provided the way. Each of these lessons can be applied to both the church as a whole and to each of our own lives. If our struggle is with temptation and our own human nature, then we will win only if we let God do the fighting. The cross, like the staff that Moses carried, is our sign of God's love and a reminder to us of God's willingness to fight for our soul. The Spirit will guide us, and all we have to do is to let God win. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. If our struggle is with illness or infirmity, then once again, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. I know that many right now are hospitalized and struggling to survive their ordeal. In many cases, they have no choice but to be still. The great difficulty in such a moment, when, as they like to say, you may be fighting for your life, is to remember that the Lord is fighting for you too. Doctors and nurses are guided by a Spirit, and through them, God is also with you. God, of course, is the great physician and the one who heals. Trust in God. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. And if in a world of falsehood the church finds itself under attack for speaking the truth, then we must realize that this is not our struggle to win. God is just leading us onward. In the course of history, as a church, we've often lost our way and our witness before, but in every circumstance, we have always found our way home again, because we are God's people, and God is fighting for us. In every struggle to find a way forward, we must remember that the Lord will fight for us. We need only to be still and to listen for the voice of God. Michael Jordan, the great basketball player, always tried to make sure that his father was there for the games that he played. He was asked once by a journalist why this was so important for him. Jordan replied, "When he is there, I know that I have at least one fan." Moses' greatest fan was God. As we read in the Bible, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. Could it be then that God is our greatest fan too? Could it be that God, the God who could do such amazing things on behalf of his chosen people, has also chosen us? Could it be that this God is still with us now, fighting on our behalf? I think that if, for just a moment, we are willing to clear our minds and be still, we will know the truth, and the truth will set us free. Be safe, and God bless you.